So I have it as 7 o'clock, which I believe means that we can start the March 25th, 2025 Wakefield Planning Board meeting. So first order of business is to do roll call. So Theo Knoll,
Here.
Kevin York,
Here.
Matt Lowry,
Here.
and Bill Spaulding.
Here.
And so myself. So all members of the planning board are currently present. First order of business is the approval of the March 11th, 2025 meeting minutes. Have all members of the planning board had a chance to review said planning board meeting minutes and have any comments? Seeing none, do I see a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented?
So moved. Second.
So moved by Bill, seconded by Kevin. Roll call vote. Theo,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
and myself, yes, as well. So March 11th, 2025 meeting minutes are approved 4-0 as I abstain. Moving on to our public hearing for the subdivision rules and regulations. So Theo, I think I'll turn it over to you in order to present this final work product, unless there's someone else you'd like to designate to present.
No, I'll present and then ask Matt to add some more sort of detail. And it's certainly welcome the input of the folks joining the call, Mr. Hatfield, Mr. McGrail, Mr. Ogren. So what I wanted to do was, for the record, say published on our website under the meeting materials as of February 25th is an annotated version of these rules and regulations, both an annotated version and then a clean version. And then for tonight's meeting minutes, the first 25 pages are also for this meeting materials are also these documents. I think as a point of introduction, this has been a long time coming, and the kudos to Matt for sort of working on this and really developing the content in order to reorganize and update the rules and regulations, both for clarity, but also to have a lot more uniformity in the subdivision documents and the presentations we receive, to ensure that we're getting all the right information and we're setting the right standards and expectations up front. So that should help the review process. Matt, is there anything you'd like to say by way of introduction? And should I be pulling these up, sharing my screen, or whatnot?
Yeah, Mr. Knoll, I'd advocate that you pull it up and be ready in case any other members of the public wish to provide any comments.
Okay.
And the chair recognizes Mr. Lowry. I think you were about to start following up to what Mr. Knoll said.
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I mean, we have been discussing these literally for a few years now, working our way through the process. I deal with subdivision rules and regulations in a lot of different towns, so I saw that there was some need in Wakefields to be updated, and to also pull in the engineering department and make sure that they had everything in the document that they needed. One of the goals is also to limit hopefully some of the typical waivers by, making sure that certain items are addressed before we have to automatically waive it because it's out of date or something like that. So I believe the town engineer is able to go through and take a look at those items and address those. But besides that, I have not much else to add to it. We did make sure that the correct professional who should be doing the plan is listed. There was some inconsistency prior. At one point when we had written documents, We had a procedure somewhere where it went from the printed bound version to online. Some of the items got, I'm not sure what happened, but somehow they got omitted or rearranged. So this was a way to correct that and basically go back to a format that, following along, people would be able to know exactly what they need to present in order to have hopefully a quick and successful subdivision.
And then from a process perspective, before I have you go through the changes, my understanding is that the planning board, since they are the rules and regulations that we manage as a board, they are not subject to any other outside body. So after having this public hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, do we need to take a vote in order to adopt these revisions?
Yeah, we should.
Okay. So after this, we anticipate taking a vote and then we'll adopt these revisions unless there's any other comments that would trigger us to reconsider this. So Theo, do you want to kind of quickly run through the red line set with a hitting the major points, and then we'll anticipate we'll take a vote.
Yeah, and what I'm gonna do is I have a Word version that I think is easier to view. I'm gonna make it bigger. I think the other thing to say by way of introduction also is that really appreciate the town planner's edits and the edits of the town engineer. All right. And here we go. All right. And all right. So there we go. Very quickly, I mean, we have discussed this in a previous meeting and gone through these changes. We did add a purpose and authority section, really to sort of for you know, that's self-explanatory. When we get to subdivision, this was useful to codify to because it does apply to all of the specific plans, but also setting the expectation, changing it from 17 physical copies to 5, making sure that digital files we get are compatible with the town systems, so that it's more effectively reviewed.
Theo,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, if you could go back one page, there is a small typo. Under B, there's an extra D.
yeah. Oh, an extra
And then
D.
there's an extra space right where your cursor is hanging out.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know that's very minor, but I figure if you're going to be voting on it, might as well let you know.
All right. Where's my other typo?
So there's where the cursor is hanging out, there's an extra
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And then just above that, there's an extra D after the word and.
Oh, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
yeah. Do you see that?
Yeah. All right, fun stuff. All right, we'll be.
And if I could add just one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of the other professionals on the board also realize that a lot of times we're required to have a lot of paper copies. And we know for a fact that most of these don't get looked at. So most people prefer to look at PDFs. So that was a major goal, is to cut that down, because it is becoming an expense to copy and bind and print and deliver all of this stuff. So if it could be pared down some, it helps the process and the planet a little bit also.
Yeah. All right. Good comment. Yeah, I think all of this is straightforward. We did make a note that under notice of the town clerk, we would like to design a form to make this straightforward. So I'll work on that separately outside of this. In terms of forms and content, similar kinds of edits as Matt has suggested. Um, Section 2 or subsection 2 here identifies the expected sheets to be included, and sort of the baseline information, scale, legend, all of that, as Matt described. The under So, and then we were able to I think reorganize and put some information under the various sheets. So existing conditions, we did update this a little bit. The coming down here, let's see. Yeah, the point, yeah, I think I'll jump down here to the footnote, make us crazy. Yeah, so just real quick, we reorganized to itemize the various plans sheets, separating out the demolition plan from existing conditions. We made some amendments to the tree planting plan. And under existing conditions, we deleted some text, and then we clarified language referring to spot elevations. And then there was a prior version F that talked about superficial soil types, and that's been deleted. And then we added a new bullet H. So. Sorry. And yeah, so I'm not. I think that some of the discussions, I think a common. Gosh, a common edit. I'm losing my place here. Yeah, I think that the a lot of the common edits that we made sort of universal, like to delineate a limit of work line, make sure that all lot lines and rights of ways and easements are identified as applicable. The I think the one there's another typo, page 11. The on the tree planting plan, we amended this to change the name to tree planting and protection plan, because that's been a common, I think, discussion point of ours, my time on the board. And we added some new paragraphs, E and F. By that I mean 5 and 6, for areas where limiting the methods proposed for limiting damage to a butters tree should be noted, and for trees that are to remain, including trees within 5 feet of the right of way, the methods of protected tree protection should be identified. The other things that we, I think, are leaving for separate discussion or separate future policy documents, or would be regarding paper streets. That was a comment from the town engineer. And I think those are really all the general edits that ultimately I think we've talked about and we've worked through.
Okay. So in that case, any member of the planning board have any comments they want to make? Any other members? In that case, seeing none, I'll open it up to any members of the public wish to have any comments related to these rules and regs as presented.
All right. Autographed copies are available for a small fee. Um, what, what, um,
Okay.
what about the rest of the planning board? Any other final comments?
Bill Spalding?
Yeah, just a quick one. I know, as Matt said, we've been working on this for a while, and the intention is to really make this easier for the applicant as well as for the planning board and those reviewing drawings. It would be great to hear from, I mean, I know you turned it out to the participants in the meeting, but I know there are a few people out there that have a lot of expertise in reviewing and helping their clients get subdivisions in front of the boards. Is there anything that we have in here that helps with filling out the paperwork side? I was trying to remember if there was a section about the forms that, not just the drawing side, but there was something about the
Yeah.
forms that I know there was a question that we had on how the forms were being filled out, and I can't remember. I was looking back in my notes to see if I could find it. I don't know if Matt or Theo, you remember that.
We did not add like an appendix to itemize the forms. We thought that that the information was readily available. So
Right.
if we were to add it, where would we put it? I mean, I guess
No, as you mentioned, I again, I was looking for my notes, but I think it was like as an appendix possibly. This was early on, and I can't remember if it was Matt, if you brought this up. It's like in the forms to make sure that they coincide, and there was something that was changed in the forms at some point, but that was already done. Do you remember this, Matt?
yeah,
No, I don't.
Yeah,
Normally the forms are pretty, pretty cut and dry.
right.
The big thing is the content of the plans, and basically this will give board members a step-by-step process. You can literally just go through the plans and make sure everything is in there. If it's in there, you move on to the next section.
Right.
So, but I think the form is pretty self-explanatory.
Okay. All right. So never mind. There was something about, I don't know.
Yeah.
I gotta start keeping everything electronic instead of having some paper notebooks around.
Yeah.
And there was about 2 years ago, or maybe even like a little longer further back when we started working on this stuff. So, all right. Well, thank you, Theo. Appreciate the work, and everybody else.
thank you as well. All right.
So in that case, any other comments from the members of the board? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to accept the amended rules and regulations as presented?
I'll make a motion that we accept the subdivision rules and regulations with a few minor edits. So not as presented, but there are a few, maybe go through it one last time and double check a couple little things.
Yeah.
Once that's done, then I think they should be all set.
So motion to accept the amended subdivision rules and regulations contingent on a typo scrub. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second. All right.
So I've
Theo,
got
Theo,
motion-
Theo should
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Got motion by Matt, seconded by Theo. Theo, roll call vote. Kevin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Theo?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, so the amended subdivision rules and regs are accepted, and that closes item number 3. So I'll proceed to item number 4, which is 200 400 Quanah Parkway. So my understanding is that this item is related to a ZBA decision that was recently issued for the 200-400 Quantum Power Parkway project that's been under review by the ZBA. As part of that, two conditions, conditions 17 and 18 of the special permit had some elements that require town acceptance at town meeting. And so it has, on advice of Town Council Mullen, it's been requested that the planning board review and provide a recommendation for favorable or not favorable action at town meeting. So that's kind of my baseline understanding. I'll turn it over to Mr. Hatfield from the ZBA, who is here to represent the ZBA as part of this effort.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, board members. Dave Hatfield, member of the Board of Appeals. As you said, here on behalf of the board regarding the 200-400 Quantico Parkway. Our chair, Tom Lucy, was unavailable due to a work commitment. So I'm here representing the board, as well as Attorney Brian McGrail. He's also here on behalf of his client the owner of the property. So by way of some background, just again, so everyone's got a good understanding of kind of where we're coming from, why we're here. So in July of 2022, the Board of Appeals granted a special permit for 200-400 Quantico Parkway, allowing a 440-unit residential multifamily development combined with an approximately 3,500 square foot restaurant on the property. The project is under construction, as you probably know all too well and see, and proceeding at a good pace and efficient process. The Board of Appeals continues to monitor the construction to make sure all the special permit conditions are being followed to limit any public impact. During our special permit hearing process for the development, it became clear that many stakeholders, including the Board of Appeals members, the general public, and the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt, had goals that included the following: for the lake's quality to be improved and protected, for as much land as possible at the end of the lake to be preserved as conservation or open space, and to provide additional public access to the land and amenities at the end of the lake. The special permit granted by the Board of Appeals with the conditions stated in our decision resulted in a development that the Board of Appeals believes achieved these goals and more. As an example of an improvement to the lake's water quality, one of the special permit conditions required the applicant to make a $1.3 million contribution to the town towards water quality improvements to Lake Quannapowitt through the Main Street project, quote unquote, or other major similar water quality enhancement projects identified by the town's Clean Lake Committee and authorized by the town. That payment has been made. As it pertains to the protection of the lake's water quality, that the approved plans call for a significant stormwater management infrastructure, including rain gardens on the property, coupled with an operations and maintenance plan which never existed before, that will now properly treat stormwater runoff before it enters the lake. As it relates to the conservation of open space land, while I assume everyone is familiar with the location of the property, I'm not sure everyone realizes how big the property is. The property consists of approximately 24 acres of land. Once completed as a condition of the special permit, approximately 12.7 acres of the property will be protected for conservation or open space land purposes in perpetuity. Furthermore, as a condition of the special permit, the owner of the property will be constructing and maintaining a recreational pathway and footbridges on the property with public access, including access to the public amenity area and public restrooms inside the building. Finally, as requested by Police Chief Scory, the special permit also contains a condition requiring the owner to provide a public safety office at the property for mutual use by the applicant's staff and the Wakefield Police Department at no charge to the town. So that's sort of some background. So, the reason for us now here before your board, as you gave in your intro, as contemplated by the special permit, the protection of the conservation or open space land with public access and the lease for public safety office, even though the lease is at no charge, requires legal documents in the form of a restrictive covenant, easement, and a lease for the benefit of the town that are being finalized by Town Council Tom Mullen that will then be presented to the Town Council for acceptance. The acceptance of those documents will be implemented by the Town Council and will require authorization by town meeting to do so. To that end, as suggested by Town Council Mullen, the Board of Appeals is sponsoring a warrant article for the town meeting this May, copy of which has been submitted to your board. Since this is not a zoning amendment, there is no requirement for a public hearing, but Section 3-10B of the Wakefield Town Charter says that the planning board shall make recommendations to town meeting on all proposed warrant articles which affect land use and development. Therefore, on behalf of the Board of Appeals, I respectfully request that you vote to make a recommendation in support of our warrant article at the town meeting this May. With that said, I'm happy to turn it over to Attorney McGrail, if the board desires, to share the site plan on the screen and show you the conservation or open space areas, and either myself or Attorney McGrail will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hatfield. Attorney McGrail, could you open up and present as it relates to the specific footbridges and easements that are being contemplated by this warrant article?
I can. So you can see the screen?
Yes.
Great. So just to orient you, let me blow this up a little bit. At the bottom of your screen is Lake Quannapowitt. And then up at the top, where my cursor is 128. This down here is Quannapowitt Parkway heading off to Lowell Street. You see Lowell Street over here. And then this is Quannapowitt Parkway, which heads to North Avenue. As Mr. Hatfield alluded to, this property is gigantic. It's 24 acres of land. You would never really think that, but it's on one end of our lake. It's just a tremendous size. And as Mr. Hatfield mentioned, 12.7 acres of this 24 acres is part of the condition by the zoning board, will be open space and or recreational, or conservation land or open space that can be used by the public. And to kind of allude to those areas, they're referred to as different areas within the special permit. The first is the Woodlands area, which is to the right, a gigantic area. It's approximately 9.25 acres of land. And it starts right where Quannapowitt Parkway goes up before it curves around and goes all the way out to Lowell Street. So that land will be maintained as open space in perpetuity, is one of the conditions. The second area is referred to up here is a utility easement area, because there are utilities in here that serve the various properties on Quannapowitt Parkway. That's this hash going in this direction and comes all the way around and goes down here to Quannapowitt Parkway. That's 1.9 acres of land. And then the final is referred to as the lake path area down below. It's kind of a moon shape, if you will, if you can get the curved line. And what that does is that abuts the town-owned land. So this piece of land, if you follow my cursor, on the shore of the lake is owned by the town of Wakefield. And this path area space, which has the curve to it, which is the diamond checks, is the lake path area. And this is the area that will also be preserved in perpetuity. It's 1.58 acres. And this is the land that will have a path and footbridges for the public to utilize. So currently on the town-owned land, there's a path that you're used to when everybody walks the lake. Now, when you walk the lake, there's going to be two paths. That path will remain, and then there'll be a path in the path area, lake path area, that the public will have access to as well. The lake path area, as Mr. Hatfield stated, kind of right in the middle in this area. So this is the redevelopment parcel. Let me kind of show this. It's about 11 acres, and this is where the development is actually going to kind of occur in the middle of the parcel. If you're going around the lake and you're on the lake path area in the middle of the development, there's going to be an amenity area that the public is going to have access to. It will be an outdoor area and inside the building. And that will have a place where workstations might be available. If the public wants to pop in and do some work, they'll be able to maybe set up a computer. Wi-Fi is a condition, another condition that the Board of Appeals implemented. Within this whole outside area in the amenity area, there's going to be public Wi-Fi. So if you want to go up on this end of the lake and work on, sit outside, you'll be able to access Wi-Fi here. And also in the public amenity area, there'll be a place to get some minimal refreshments, water if you're walking the lake. And as Mr. Hatfield mentioned, there'll be public restrooms that will be available. And lastly, in this area is going to be the public safety office that Chief Scory asked for, because he thought that this would provide a great opportunity for the Wakefield Police to have a presence at this end of the lake. The bicycle patrol officers will have a place that they can stop. They'll have an office that's going to be all set up with them, with all of the communications that they need. And that way, they're going to have a reserved parking space up here. So they really feel good about it, even for people that walk the lake. There'll be signs up there that Wakefield Police are present. So it's really going to provide a nice safe amenity, not only for the development, but more importantly for the public at large that utilize this end of the lake. The landscaping that's going to go in here is going to be immense. The plantings that are going to go in, hundreds of plantings, rain gardens. There was an incredible landscape architect plan that was part of the Board of Appeals approval. So you'll see tremendous amount of trees and plantings added throughout the property. One of the conditions that the Board of Appeals put on this project also is that not only does the operation and maintenance plan call for the meticulous maintenance of this lake path area and the property as a whole, but the owner of the property is going to be required, if allowed to do so, to maintain the town-owned land as well. And that way there'll be one company that will be maintaining this whole side of the lake. So you wouldn't have, for example, the grass cut on the lake path area on a Monday and then the town cuts their grass on a Friday. So just to really keep this all looking the way I think everybody wants to do it, that it will be professionally cared for, not only the private property, but the town-owned property if allowed to do so by the town, which we have no reason to believe it wouldn't be. I've already mentioned the public Wi-Fi. So, and as Mr. Hatfield mentioned, Town Council Mullen asked us to have this on your agenda to make sure that we get a recommendation for town meeting as required by a town charter. Happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that presentation.
Would you like me to keep this up or put it down?
Keep it up, I think. So any members of the planning board have any comments, concerns, or questions they'd like to ask?
I had one question on the warrant article language in section A. Is there a reason that the size of that open space and conservation land isn't mentioned there? The 12.7 acres?
Oh, it's a condition of the board, and this plan is part of, this plan that you're seeing will be part of the restrictive covenant and easement, so it's gonna get referenced. So the Board of Appeals decision referenced 12.7 acres, so to be in compliance, we've gotta be in that area.
Okay.
Any other members of the board have any other questions, concerns, or comments? Okay. In that case, do I hear a motion to accept do I hear a motion to have favorable action on the proposed town meeting warrant as submitted by the Board of Appeals?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Kevin, seconded by Bill for the planning board to provide or to recommend favorable action for the town meeting warrant as submitted by the Board of Appeals. Roll call vote. Theo No.
Yes.
Matt Lowry.
Yes.
Bill Spalding.
Yes.
Kevin York.
Yes.
And myself a yes as well. So the Wakefield Planning Board will be submitting and recommending favorable action on the town warrant meeting article. And thank you, Attorney McGrail and Mr. Hatfield, for coming here and making this as clear as possible.
We appreciate it. Thanks, board members.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. So that closes item number 4 on our agenda. So I'll proceed to item number 5, which I believe is also a Attorney McGrail item. It's a A&R associated with 95 Prospect Street.
Correct, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Ogren from Hayes Engineering is with me tonight. If I could ask him through you to share the A&R plan for this on the screen.
Yes, please.
Thank you, John. If you could blow that up a little bit, John, is that possible? Great. Thank you. This is I would say a textbook A&R plan entitled to endorsement, Mr. Chair. Property is currently at is 95 Prospect Street, and what's being proposed here is to divide 95 Prospect Street into two lots. Lot 1, which will have well over 100 feet of frontage on Prospect Street, and then Lot 2, which will have over 108 will have approximately 108 feet of frontage on Parker Road. Both Prospect Street and Parker Road are public ways within the town. So that alone, I think you're aware, is a by right, entitles this to endorsement. As you can see, there's provisions that will be made which go beyond this A&R plan to make the current structure at 95 Prospect Street conform to zoning on Lot 1 once everything is said and done. That'll be an issue with the building department.
Any members of the board have any questions or concerns? I believe every member of the board was provided this plan a couple days ago for your review. Okay, not seeing any questions. Do I hear a motion to endorse the A&R plan at 95 Prospect Street as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Bill, seconded by Theo. Roll call vote. Kevin,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Theo,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So the A&R we have voted to endorse, and now I think we'll just have to coordinate with you, Mr. McGrail, as it relates to get it. Do we have a copy of the Mylar already submitted?
Yes, we dropped it off with the town planner.
Okay.
And if we could just make sure you have authority to sign the application, Mr. Chair, so you can send that back to me so I can clock it in with the town clerk.
Yep. So if I remember correctly, we have to vote in order to give myself the authority to sign it.
Yes.
So in that case, do I hear a motion to give myself the ability to sign the A&R plan on behalf of the board?
The application.
The application, sorry, yes.
So moved.
Moved by Bill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mhm.
Seconded by Theo. So roll call vote. Kevin,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Theo,
Yes.
and Bill.
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Sam, we'll be in touch in terms of starting the chain of the Mylar.
Can I just vote to be the first signer or early in the process, since I'm going away? I don't want to slow things down.
Yes, I think that makes a ton of sense.
Theo, could you let me know when you're out?
Yeah, I'm out tonight and tomorrow, but I'll email you. I'm back on Thursday. So
Okay, great, thanks.
So in that case, I'll move on to any other questions or related to the A&R before I move on, close item number 5. Okay, so I'll move on to item number 6, planner update. Sam?
I don't have anything to update you with. Right now, we are making progress. I mean, other than obviously making progress on the housing production plan. Still anticipating being done in May. I would encourage you to either email in comments for the forum or attend in person. There's one coming up hybrid on the 9th, and then there's another one on the 16th that is entirely remote.
Okay. In that case, I'll move on to item number 7, items not anticipated by the chair. Any members of the board have items that they want to discuss?
I know a letter was received about Nahant Street. Is that something we could discuss at this point?
Yep, that's on my list.
Okay.
So it's a perfect time to do so. So, Sam, I believe you traveled to 197 Nahant Street, which is the previously executed subdivision, and made a couple recommendations, um, and then we received a letter back from, or yeah, you went out and you made a field report, and then you were in correspondence with the applicant.
I believe it was Mr. Lowry who had noticed some concerns. I did not go out to the field, but I did forward along the letter that Mr. Lowry had drafted and sent it to the applicant, and finally got a response. They came in, we reviewed the letter and some of the concerns, and they are slowly but surely, I believe, working on getting it remedied.
And for other members of the board who are, I don't believe have received a copy of this. But we received this letter, or Sam received this letter from was it John Dick, wetland scientist, who came to the site based on our notice to the applicant related to the tree damage at the two locations. So essentially what Mr. Dick indicated was that the trees had what he characterized as minor damage to the lower limbs, and that he recommended pruning of the damaged limbs, as well as a large scar in one of the older trees that he observed, and included a photograph of in the letter. And then he noticed that the limit of work line was, I believe he said was denoted, but was did not appear to have been denoted in the past.
The limit of work line being the fence?
Correct.
Okay.
Or yeah, the
Mr.
tree.
Chair, sorry, so if I understand the response, the denotion of the limit of work line means that before it wasn't being followed, but now it is being followed, but the damage has already been done.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you look, what he's saying is the limit of work of the plans is partially staked. A straw wattle erosion and siltation barrier was absent during his
Mhm.
recent inspection, and that he uh, mm, address the items with the owner and the utility contractor and report when they've been resolved. So it looks like it, the partial staking indicates to me that they're starting to implement some of these things. But to your point, some of the damage, especially with that large tree and that scar, has already occurred, as well as the minor branch, and then obviously not having the straw wattle erosion silt barrier indicates that while they're getting better, they're still not fully in compliance with the conditions of the subdivision.
I would actually say since this letter was written, the site's gotten worse, to tell you the truth. The really janky fence around the trees that I believe was staked up probably when there was frost on the ground, so the stakes have all fallen over. And there's been no effort to even try to update that, put that in. There is no erosion control on site still. It looks like they've cut a trench for either gas or water line that's been open for a couple of weeks now, basically causing a attractive nuisance out there, which I'm surprised that no one else has picked up on. But this site is really just a mess. They haven't complied with anything to start with. And looking at this letter, they're basically saying that the tree's no good anyways, which is what looks like they're teeing up here by showing what the tree looks like. Most anyone who's driven by that site knows what the tree is like. This is something that the applicant agreed to protect as part of the condition of approving this. This person purchased this and had no intention apparently of doing anything out there. So this is really a poor reflection on the board being able to enforce any conditions they put on things, and I'm a little disgusted with this site and that nothing's being done out there.
Anyone else have anything else they want to add to that?
No, I mean, other than I think we're all in agreement with Matt on this, or at least I am. What are our what comes next?
Well,
like
at this point, if the applicant's not willing to do anything, prior to sign off on the subdivision, the board has to sign off on it, unless, like in the past, it's been signed off by the engineering and bypassed the board, which I hope it isn't done, because that's a common occurrence also. But prior to sign off on this, some remedies need to be addressed, and the applicant needs to come in and tell us how they're going to correct this. The damage has been done out there. There was no tree protection. They stockpiled everything around the tree. They had a machine in there. Literally, you can see how it broke a bunch of branches off. They ended up taking a large branch, a large leader off of one of the trees in order to build the house. Basically reducing the size of the tree considerably. So, to me, they need to come in and have some corrective action and tell us what they're going to do before this is signed off and before they get a CO to move in here. The fact that there's still no erosion control out there, and we're in the wet season now, there is water running out in the street. It's just a mess. I'm just going to put it this way, if the board cannot enforce these simple conditions on a tiny subdivision like this, it doesn't give us much hope on a larger project where there needs to be some oversight. And it's happened time and time again on subdivisions, and at some point the board needs to make a stand and either put conditions in there that you will stop construction until things are corrected, or something. I'm a little upset that there's really been not much support from the town, from engineering, from building department. They know what was approved, but yet no one's done anything to try to enforce that. Unfortunately, this board has no enforcement authority except for not signing off on the final approval for the subdivision.
Is it worth having the applicant and the engineering department address this issue to us directly?
If you can get them to do it,
Yeah.
there's no, I mean, there's no way to compel them to come in except holding up, signing off on the subdivision, I guess.
Right.
And just, Theo, if it helps, in the past, subdivisions that have had drainage issues that have
Yeah.
affected other people's properties, that's where I think we've had the most action from the town.
Yeah.
Especially engineering, and then going out and reviewing, even having a third party come in to review the revised drainage plan to make sure it was done properly, because some of that gets out of our expertise as well.
Sure.
But in this case, where it comes down to trees, unless the abutters are complaining to the town, we really haven't had much enforcement at all. So, and Matt knows some of the projects I'm talking about, where if we did have an abutter that was coming to us and saying this, we could get the town involved more to have some action. Or I don't think we can stop construction unless the building department or engineering gets in there. But this is something that we've dealt with over the years and before any of us were on the board. So I don't know what the remedy is or solutions, except for each of us calling or writing email to engineering.
And
Matt, do you agree that that's the correct path is to engineering?
At this
Not to-
point, yeah,
yeah.
because there's still drainage components that need to go in out there.
Yep,
I mean, just looking at the picture that's in front of us, and if you remember what the drainage situation was supposed to be for the building, they didn't even build it correctly. It looks like they're tying all the downspouts directly into some infiltration system. That's not really how there was supposed to be a gravel channel around the building,
right.
which things were supposed to go into. So again, these are the things that, and I see it all the time. People build things, they connect it, they fill it in, and then nobody knows what's going on there because it's either not sized properly or just not even constructed. So, yeah, again, the simple things about a limit of work line that we just talked about, staking, erosion control, not done. I'm surprised the building department going out there, not seeing any of this done, did not say anything. And I'm frankly, I'm surprised the neighbors that were so involved in this aren't saying anything either. But
Right.
does it make sense for us, I mean, at this point, to send a letter from on behalf of the planning board to the building department and essentially outline our concerns related to the lack of enforcement of some of these conditions?
well, it looks, to tell you the truth, it looks like the building's done. So the building department may be out of the situation at this point. Unless there's a wall that needs a permit, the next thing is gonna be engineering and construction of the
The
drainage
way.
components for the road, yeah.
And in the past, when you've had an applicant who has not followed the conditions, when they come at the end, when they come to the board, especially if it's related to trees, what are the types of things that have, for lack of a better term, been required to provide a remedy if the whole point was to provide protection for the tree, and now that they've damaged a tree, it's not like you can undamage a tree.
Well, it depends on, I think, what the tree is doing or where it's placed on the property. Obviously, when we do the plans, there are some trees that are shown. In the past, we've walked sites and put ribbons and named trees that could be removed and others that could be saved, depending on the property and what the goal was. But to this point, I feel, can trees be planted? Can whatever it is, know that we know of, and maybe Sam knows, but I don't think any abutters have complained. Right? So to Matt's surprise and my surprise, I think that's something that yeah, that could help as well. But a point that Matt made that I think is the only direction that we can go in now is about drainage. If currently they're not abiding by the approved plan for the surface drainage and runoff that they signed off on, we signed off on, that that's something that we could get engineering involved in. I think that's our only path.
Well, and I mean, the other path would be if we refuse to sign, I mean, we could also take some sort of civil legal action because they violated our approval.
Well, there are some properties too that we've had surety on, that
Yeah.
some of that is given back at certain stages of completion of construction, and then when it is completed as a subdivision. But I don't, yeah, that's only happened a few times.
Yeah.
That I know of.
I mean, to Matt's broader point, lack of enforcement or lack of necessarily buy-in from the building department or the engineering department. That to me sort of speaks to the need, more clarity, the need to figure out how to have them on board. It does sound like you almost need a surety with every condition. So, and some sort of financial penalty.
Well, the other thing that probably needs to be done, and we haven't really done this previously, but I know in some towns that limit of work lines need to be staked by a surveyor. They need to be in and they need to be approved before anything can go forward. So I know if there's a wetland component that happens, Concom will go out there and make sure that that's done. This is probably something, and again, Wakefield's not going to have a lot of subdivisions, but we really should have, at this point out here, went out and made sure it was in place before they started doing any work. Again, after, damage has been done. They're going to say, oh, sorry, too bad, and move on. So it's just, again, a fact that we make these conditions, the applicant says they're going to do something, they sell it, and then the person moving in, purchasing it doesn't care, doesn't even respond actually for a while. So so I guess doing more work on the front end is going to be one of the things that has to be done.
All right. So to Jim's point, a letter to the building department,
The engineering.
the engineering, sorry, keep misspeaking, apologies. With a CC to the town manager and Council Tom Mullen, with some discussion about next steps. And but and another point would be when we're approving these things to begin with, you give notice to all the abutters that something's happening. Do you require the applicant to give the abutters the copy of our approval with all the conditions?
Well, they're public record, so I don't think we have to give it to them, but
Well, why not? Like, if we're relying on a sort of civic participation to hold people honest, I mean, other than we're the ones that have to do the enforcement as a board ourselves.
well, we do because we're the permit granting authority in this case. But we have no authority really at this point. That's when it comes to town employees that should be going out there inspecting this stuff and noticing what's going on.
Does it make sense to send a letter to the building department reminding them that they are our enforcement and oversight partner in these situations? And there are plans that they should be looking at as they do that job?
Suppose it wouldn't hurt.
So I think we've identified two letters that we're interested in sending. One to engineering, essentially denoting that we have concerns related to the compliance associated with this property, and then a separate letter to the ISD reminding them that there are enforcement mechanisms, just as a global comment.
Through the chair, if I may, one quick thing. I don't know if the applicant was 100%. Do you feel from the letter that they responded to the concerns that you had? Do you feel like that they appropriately addressed it? Because my concern is when they came in, they were asking questions that I don't have answers for because a lot of this predated me. And the person, whoever was in there, I don't know if he didn't introduce himself, so I don't know if it is the one who wrote the letter. But he expressed not really being sure about what was going on. And I just, before
I think
you
what I
get,
would, I think what I would express is that some of the concern is from things that are already done, right? So damage to the tree, but the fact that they staked out the tree area is a good step in the right direction. But to Matt's point, the fact that straw erosion silt barriers were not in place, continue to not be in place. There's other just basic erosion control elements. I think that some of, specifically related to the tree, I think they addressed it somewhat, and then specific to the erosion control, it sounds like no. And Matt, you can correct me if I'm misstating it from your perspective, since you've been the one who's looked at it the most.
Well, I wouldn't even say they addressed the issue with the trees. Whoever did the tree pruning out there clearly had no clue what they're doing when it comes to trees. It wasn't an arborist that did anything out there. So saying that this person saying more pruning needs to be done doesn't give me a good feeling it's going to be done correctly. So and then how to rectify the ground that's been disturbed all around the trees and not have them go out there with another machine and regrade it, ripping up roots. I don't have a good feeling that's going to happen either. So did it address any of my concerns? No, I don't think so. All it's doing is basically saying, well, the tree wasn't any good anyways. Here's a picture of it. So they're basically setting themselves up for, well, the tree's no good, so we're going to take it down, or, who cares?
In a perfect world, if that were true, they would have communicated that during the process.
Or once they purchased the site, saw the conditions and said, this tree isn't worth dealing with, or, we've got concerns, they should have come to us before.
Yeah.
So at this point, if they want to take the tree down, fine. Now they need to they need to replace it in kind or do something to make up for the damage that's been done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Okay. So does anyone want to take the lead on crafting that letter to be issued to the ISD and engineering?
I don't mind taking that on.
Okay.
I've done this in the past, so
Yeah.
My goal would be to gather the letter that we sent, the letter that we received, and some of the bullet points that we just went over. So, and what I'll do is I'll do a draft of that. I'll share it with Sam and Matt. And we can go from there.
In that case, do we want to take a vote on empowering Bill to collate this and then send it on behalf of the board?
That sounds great.
Just a comment, I think it should ultimately come from the chair, but it's okay if it does come from another board member.
Bill, if you draft it, I'm more than happy to
Okay,
review and then transmit after you're completed your drafting of it.
okay.
So so I guess in that case we would vote to empower myself to issue this on behalf of the board, contingent on receiving it from Bill.
I don't think we need to vote on anything, honestly.
Okay.
I
No,
think this is, no. This is
Okay.
just board business. I'll draft, it'll get reviewed. Matt has some history with this. Sam could be the all-knowing, helping, supporting part of it, and then it can go from Sam to you, Jim, and then from Jim to circulation.
Okay.
And as you mentioned, Jim, it would go, I think it needs to be addressed to engineering and CC'd the building department. And because of other, I don't think conservation was involved in this subdivision. I don't believe so. So
No, they
no,
were.
just, and that would be it.
I only mentioned conservation earlier because on projects that conservation
Yeah.
is with
Yeah, I
the,
just had to think back. I can't remember anything with this. I know there was something about on the other side of the property, there was that small surface brook that ran towards the street and drain or something. I kind of remember that, but I don't think conservation was involved. Okay.
Sounds good. Anything else on 197 Nahant anyone wants to bring up? Okay, in that case, any other items not anticipated by the chair?
I can give a quick update on the signage overlay district situation. So the zoning board has a draft that a former member put together. They are going to review that, make edits as they see fit, share that with the town planner for feedback, and then they will send that to us to handle public hearing from that point. Depending on what the draft looks like, I think we can decide if we just want to include that with the overall zoning bylaw codification, recodification, or if there are substantial enough changes that we may want to have that as a separate item all its own.
Do you know when that would anticipated be transmitted to Sam for her review?
The impression I had from the conversation I had with a ZBA member was relatively soon. They talked about addressing it in one of their next meetings.
In that case, what I probably will do is I'll plug this for, so it's March 25th. Our next meeting has a number of public hearings currently scheduled. And then our 422 meeting, we have no public hearing. So I'll just put as a placeholder the signage overlay as an item for our 513 meeting in anticipation. It would potentially something would have gone over to Sam at that by that point, and then we can start talking about how we want to address it in a more full-throated manner.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that update. Any other items not actually, Kevin, while you mentioned the bylaw review committee adjacent items, what's the update regarding where that stands for the recodification and when that is currently anticipated to be ready?
Looking at fall town meeting at this point. We have our next meeting on April 7th, I believe, but we haven't had one since early March.
And what's outstanding? I know we had the joint meeting between our board and the bylaw review committee. Are there other meetings that we should be anticipating putting on our books to have with them prior to the public hearing process?
I'm gonna step away for one quick sec. Thank you.
I could see there being one. I think the big things that the group wanted to wait on were MBTA communities bylaw approved by the Attorney General, so that can be included in the new recodification. And then also ADUs to hopefully get that included as well. I don't know if that will be approved. Well, I don't know the process for getting that approved by the Attorney General.
It's like 90 days after the town meeting approval, right, Sam?
Typically the AG office gets back a little quicker in my experience. We have AG approval for MBTA communities. We're still waiting on EOHLC. We're in this kind of like weird middle ground where technically it's law, but it's, hasn't been evaluated by EOHLC. Steve has written to, at this point, the secretary of the EOHLC because I can't get anybody to respond to me anymore, unfortunately. So the AG's office though, because I I don't think that MBTA communities has to go through the EOHLC. So in theory, it should be a smoother process. I have submitted the draft ADU bylaw to the AG for preliminary review. So in theory, we'll have all of it tightened up, so it'll be smoother, pending any potential floor amendments, although I don't foresee what somebody could add on to it, because there's only so much we can regulate, based off of the state, so.
So Kevin, maybe at your meeting on, I think you said 4/6, just maybe ask the question, what does the process look like between now and the fall town meeting? Because zoning being what it is, if you keep waiting for there to be no zoning amendments, especially given with all the citizen petitions, I think that the bylaw recodification effort's never going to actually happen. So I would, unless again, other members of the board may disagree, but I would advocate that they really try to stick towards fall town meeting so we can put a bow on that, given the amount of changes it's in contemplating. And even if it just gives a placeholder for where the signage bylaw would go, because I'm sure that will be a separate effort that probably doesn't make sense to get rolled into that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement on both of those points.
Okay, any other items not anticipated by the chair? Okay, in that case, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Motion by Matt, seconded by Bill. Kevin?
Yes.
Theo?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Thank you all. Have a great night, and thank you, Sam and Susan.
Thank you.
All right,
All
good
right.
night.
Thank you, everybody.